Hello, my name is Ben Fry. This video's purpose is for EDU 503 sports law, um, and it's a parent meeting based on sports injuries that can happen for high school student athletes. Um, Start the meeting. Physicals and medical consent forms must be turned into the office at the school. The consent forms are used as an initiative that allows your student athlete to receive the best and most appropriate care in the event of an injury. Um, an example: so and so gets hurt during a basketball game, um, twists their knee up pretty bad, gets taken off the floor, ends up going to the hospital because there's some swelling. They get to the hospital and there's no consent form signed by the parents. Parents weren't at the game. Parents aren't with the student athlete. Now the medical personnel, hands are tied, can't really do anything until they get medical consent from the parent to basically handle the situation. So the reason that we've got the medical consent forms is for that reasoning alone. Each coach is required to carry them with them at practice and on the road, home games. In the event of an issue, those medical consent forms allow the medical personnel to give the best appropriate care in the event of an injury. Along with that, another part um, that is needed before the athlete is even eligible to participate is a concussion impact or baseline test. Basically, what that test does is it sets a baseline um, for a student athlete to be judged as to whether or not they have received a concussion during a sporting event. Um, it used to be back in the day, even, you know, 10, 10 to 5 to 10 years ago, um, they were still considering concussions sometimes as just getting your bell rung. You know, I know for a fact when I played football 10 years ago, I definitely got my bell rung a few times and probably had a few undiagnosed concussions. Nowadays, concussions are considered a serious sports injury, and they are more monitored than ever. Our coaches and our trainers, you know, every team personnel person that we've got on the sideline in order to help out is heavily trained in how to watch for signs, watch for symptoms, and deal with concussions. Now, um, concussions are a serious injury, and our coaches are more prepared than ever to deal with symptoms and that kind of thing. But um, that doesn't mean that they're always viewed or seen at practices. Sometimes a concussion symptom won't really show itself until they get home to the parents. So, any parent that wants to kind of know what the signs and symptoms are, there's a free course online that all coaches are required to take. Parents and student athletes, they're more than welcome to take it as well, just so that way they kind of have an idea of what to look for and what might happen in the event that they get one, and how then they are able to get back to play, which is kind of my next point: the returning to play protocol. It's a 5-step process that anyone who receives a concussion has to follow in order to be reinstated to be eligible to participate. Now, each day, that first day, maybe they're just sitting and watching practice. The next day they get to participate in some light stretching, that kind of stuff. The third day maybe they can run. The fourth day they're participating in half speed practice, and then the fifth day they're back to full speed. If at any point during this protocol any symptom is shown or any setback happens, they have to restart the whole process. Because concussions are being considered so serious, which they are, because concussions are so serious of an injury now, there is a huge emphasis on the return to play protocol and making sure that athletes are at 100% when they come back to play, so there's not a setback or an issue during the game. Um, Another issue that isn't necessarily thought of or considered to be much of a risk is weather related, and it's heat. Heat is a huge issue in our fall sports, such as football, basically any outdoor sports. Fall sports, such as football, cross country, soccer, um, track and field, and in the state of Iowa, the big ones are baseball and softball, which take place over the summer months. The heat index has a huge factor in determining how an athlete plays. I mean, sometimes they look a little bit more sluggish than normal, um, and it's because the heat really plays a factor in that. So if the temperature reaches a certain point, the state has guidelines saying that we cannot practice, we cannot play, anything like that. But what we can't always monitor is how much water and fluids the athletes are taking in outside of the game or practice or whatever. So that's where we kind of need your help as parents, just to kind of emphasize the importance of staying hydrated and that kind of thing. Um, because heat exhaustion and heat stroke are considered injuries. So they require medical personnel to sign a clearance that the athlete is ready to participate again. Um, just last year, 2 years ago, I had a student athlete who played softball for me, who suffered heat exhaustion and was taken from the field to the hospital to get IV fluids to get rehydrated because it was so bad. That athlete decided that they were going to stay and sit and work outside all day before they were supposed to play. And since in Iowa, baseball and softball are played over the summer, it was easily 100 degrees out that day. And she was a pitcher. She pitched an entire game, and by the end of it, she couldn't stand up anymore, and she could barely breathe because she was so just drained. And you could see it steadily, start to wear on her. And then at the end of the game, all of a sudden, it was just done. She had nothing left. Um, so that was a scary moment for her and the team, but everything was taken care of because the doctors know what to do. But she was not drinking water throughout the day and did not make a wise choice in spending all day outside right before the game. Um, Normal or common injuries that people think about are sprains, breaks, so just sores, tears, etc. Those are all monitored by coaches and trainers, but medical personnel may be needed to give clearance at times. That's where that medical consent form also comes through in the event that there is something that needs to be looked at. Our trainers are then allowed to look at it. Our doctors, whatever, are allowed to look at it. And a lot of the training facilities that we have are open on the weekends for athletes to come in and do their rehabilitation. So that's something that we're offering and that works out for everybody. Now, a big kind of misconception is that some sports are safer than others, and while that is true to an extent, there's no absolutely safe sport. Um, Basketball, you're just as likely to, I wouldn't say just as likely, but you are susceptible to concussions just like you are in football. Whether it's an elbow coming down, going for a rebound, or losing your footing and hitting your head on the floor, anything like that. Soccer, whether you're heading a ball or a straight kick catches you, um, there are risks in every sport, and that needs to be considered. Um, there is no such thing as a safe sport, but our coaches and our personnel are there for the safety of athletes, and the school is there for the safety of athletes. So any symptoms that are seen at practices, in class, at games are considered considered serious and will be looked after. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.